So hi, welcome to the Good Noise Podcast here with Chris from the Neverlutionaries. We're going to ask him some questions today. I'm going to start. So what inspired you to start the band, and what does the band name mean?
The band was inspired to begin. Essentially, I write tons of songs and always have a bunch of different songs, different genres laying around, and got a chance to record at High Street Studio in San Francisco, where a lot of legendary records have been recorded and produced. And everything just kind of fell into place for us to get some time in there. And I got a couple of buddies in with me to fill in the blanks, per se. And the name essentially came from a conversation that a friend of mine that's an awesome guitar player, Johnny Axtell, who actually played on one of the couple of songs on the record. I don't know if he said it or I said it in the midst of a conversation, and I was looking for something different to call this project, because the last, I was in a band back in the day called the Peasants of the Apocalypse. I've always liked those kind of socially charged kind of things. And so the Neverlutionaries too sounded kind of cool. People can read their own meaning into it, and it kind of works, so I'm digging it.
Yeah, definitely doesn't roll off the tongue, but it works.
Yeah, it's still a really cool name. I still like it. So actually, as you mentioned, you had a previous project, and that project actually had the chance to share a stage with Metallica and Def Leppard. How did that happen, and what was that like?
Well, it was one of these things where after being in a business and you're in a small town, you kind of, if you're kind of worth your weight in talent, you kind of rise to the top, per se. And we had a friend of ours who had a connection down at this amphitheater and heard the band was coming around and was like, hey man, you guys would be so awesome to open up for. They're kind of fresh for this area. There weren't too many rock bands with African American gentlemen like myself running the back in the day screaming bloody murder at the top of our lungs.
Yeah.
So it was really cool that we were getting some recognition in North Carolina. And a couple of the guys in the band had some legal issues, and we weren't able really to tour too far outside of the area. But after that happened, I just kind of did my own thing, and we all just went our separate ways, as it happens in life. The first bands, for someone to kind of make it in the game and still be sticking there for the long haul is kind of rare. So, I feel, stoked that I'm, still able to write really great music, or that feels great to me. It feels real coming off my heart.
Yeah.
That's what I feel is great. It's the other people's interpretations are completely up to them, but it's something that's coming from a pure place for me. So, it was definitely really awesome getting those shows. And a couple times we were sitting around watching Def Leppard kick around a soccer ball, and that was kind of cool. And, it was just one of those things that, for those guys, that was probably the biggest thing they did, and they kind of got out of it afterwards,
Yeah.
But, it was definitely my first big one, for sure.
Yeah.
Memories for both of those shows.
That's really sick. It's huge.
Yeah.
You also brought up working at High Street Studios. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. I originally got hooked up to the whole gang down at Hyde Street Studios through a friend of mine named Pamela Parker. She's a producer, singer, songwriter, guitar player that produces out of Hyde Street. And she started inviting me in once in a while just to kind of sit in and do a couple of sessions here and there, and just to be recording in this room where all these amazing, legendary people recorded, Dead Kennedys, Green Day, God, Grateful Dead, etc. I mean, you name it, all different kinds of genres, was really a beautiful thing to be welcomed into such a hallowed place. Because that's like, I'm a spiritual person, not a typical religious person. But if I had a church, that would be one of them.
Yeah.
Church of, just to go and
kind of bask, right?
You can feel it. You can literally feel some other interesting energies, which I won't get into now there, because it's a very old building. And just some creative vibes, So we were able to put it together relatively quickly because I had most of the songs already had them together, and had my one of the cohorts and dear friends, Chris McGrew, who played drums on most of the project. And so it was great having them there as like someone to bounce ideas off, and we communicate very easily, so we can get where we're going a lot quicker than most. And, aside from that, I did a lot of the guitar work, most of the bass work, all the bass work actually. And I had my friend Kenny Olsen, and Kenny played with Kid Rock back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, look him up. He's legendary. We actually played. I was playing a couple years ago in this band based out of Nashville called the All Time Low Stars. It was fronted by Peter Keys, who was, I guess he's still the keyboard player for Lynyrd Skynyrd.
Oh.
And he played with Snoop Dogg, and then we had Bubba Sparks sitting with us the last show, and Alexander King, and they're like these outlaw Southern rappers.
Yeah.
And then we had Kenny Olsen, who played with Kid Rock and Bootsy Collins, and he's literally, we were playing at a gig one day and just having like our little pre-gig meal. I look over and I just see like his guitar hanging on the wall, like next to like some famous person's jumpsuit. I think it was Conway Twitty or something.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of cool. I'm like, I'm playing with this dude, and he has his guitars on the wall there, and on the wall at several other ones across the world. So it came out great, so it was great to have people there, because I'm so used to recording everything and doing everything by myself, that it was great to have other energies come into it, because he's on the song Everybody's Losing Their Minds, which was written before the pandemic, by the way.
Wow.
Let me clarify.
Yeah.
I was having a little Miss Cleo moment or something like that, and seeing something that was to be, but it worked out great. It worked out great, and I'm most of the time with recording stuff, you go back, it's like, I don't know if either you all created, obviously you all are public kind of entertainers, but sometimes you wish you would go back. Oh, I wish I wouldn't have said it. I wish I could have said this different.
Oh yeah.
All the time.
This is the only time I've ever recorded in my life where I think I said everything I wanted to say, and I'm fine with it. There's nothing that will make me cringe if I hear it, a few years down the line or anything like that. So that's a rarity in itself. So I'm definitely very fortunate to have that happen.
For sure.
That's huge. Yeah. I'm really happy you finally got a little team together and you're happy with what you put out.
Yeah, and it's cool. And what's neat about it is that as time goes on, I've already started to work on the next one, and I'll get some other kind of notable cats to sit in here to round some things out, and might switch things around, but just to keep it fresh. Because that way, when you're just writing in your head the whole time, and you don't have anyone outside of yourself to kind of bounce ideas off of, and their little interpretation might be varied slightly from yours, but give you a end result that might not have, come into fruition if it wouldn't have happened, if he wasn't there or she wasn't there.
Yeah. So
that's a really cool part about it. And plus, I don't have anyone standing over my back going, "Oh, that's wrong. Don't do that."
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm lucky enough, I can't, say more about it, but Jameson Durr, who produced the record, he produced, I think, a #1 Billboard charting song for Sammy Hagar last May, I think May of 2020, actually 2019. So that's pretty huge.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And he's probably one of the coolest, nicest human beings I've ever had the pleasure of meeting in my life.
Oh.
Just really super patient, like one of those people that won't say bad things about, the whole room could be putting somebody down, and he'll be the only one that'll say, well, what about their positive points? He's actually kind of made me look at things differently, and wonder if I'm approaching them from a point of kindness or from being an ass.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
It's
it's
always
really
good
cool
to have
to
somebody
have
like
a friend
that.
that can kind of influence you instead of like, hey, let's go out and get even drunker than we already are. It's like, you know,
Mhm.
it's like, check your soul, bro. Is that kind of you? Could you be kinder?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's really an awesome thing. And then just to kind of not have to explain to him like before when I'm kind of hands off, and when the lockdown happened, he was on the West Coast, I was on the East Coast, so we were having to do a lot of the production stuff
Yeah.
via meetings, Skype, what have you.
Mhm.
And it was normally when I have someone in that position, I'm having to, stand over their back going, nope, too much, delay, nope, too raw.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
him, we usually got to one or two mixes, and there was literally just little tiny nuances.
Mhm.
Like there wasn't anything major. Like he had the guitar sitting in the mix properly, and the bass sounded booming.
Yeah.
And it there's something about when the foundation is laid properly, the sky's the limit for how a song can come out. But it
Yeah.
also works vice versa. If you lay down like a rickety ass house and a rickety ass structure,
Yeah.
have you know some rickety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll fall apart.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think I may have just coined a new term. But
It's wonderful. I love it.
yeah, but the whole process. To be honest with both of you guys, it was just amazing. One of these things that was like supposed to happen,
Mhm.
very kismet. Time opened up at the studio around the holidays. It had been booked, and I had a couple of buddies that were around, and like, what are you doing? Like, I don't know. And I just happened to be there for Christmas. Kind of something said you should be there.
Yeah.
You should be there. So I listened to the voices, the voice you have inside of yourself. Now, when the voice starts screaming really loud and telling you to like hit people with popsicles, ignore it. But we all have that inner voice that kind of
Mhm.
inspires us. It
Yeah.
says, maybe you should try this, or And I'm glad I listened that time because the end result has been one of the coolest experiences of my life, definitely at this point.
That makes me really happy to hear. Yeah.
I'm really happy to be living it.
Definitely. Oh my god. So actually speaking of that album, congratulations on it. Yeah, can you tell me how you feel about the response to it so far?
Um, I I'm just tickled. The response has been amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, when you hear something in your heart and get it to your head and put it down onto the machine and give it out to the world,
Hmm.
you never know what the reception is going to be like. Something that you feel is really awesome that you spend all this time on, other people can hear it and be like, eh. And then the song that takes you 5 minutes to write in the bathroom, everybody loves.
Mm.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
it's up into the individual's interpretation. But one of the reasons why I've always been a champion of albums that have different textures and variances and
Hmm.
just textures essentially,
Yeah.
ups and downs and lulls and high points, because it's like life.
Mhm.
It's like the ride. The ride's never always just going to be smooth.
Yeah.
It's going to be from day to day. You could run the whole gamut. I've had days where I started up, just being upset and having a terrible day, and then ending on one of the most beautiful days ever.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So this way, it's kind of like like the old school. Back in the day, people would throw on a record, they'd listen to the whole thing, look at the album work and kind of spin it around and be like, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
And this is one of these recordings that I'd love for people to just go through the whole thing,
Hmm.
because I took specifically a lot of time with the order to make sure it was correct,
Hmm.
that it flowed, and that there were points for to kind of recover from the super big Marshall amps cranking,
Yeah.
and just let it kind of vibe out.
Yeah.
And make it like a journey,
Okay.
like a journey to space.
Oh.
Perfect.
That's wonderful. That was great. That was great.
So you have a feature on one of the songs, "Everybody's Losing Their Mind" with Kenny Olsen. What was it like working with him?
He is awesome. He's a really awesome guy. Started working with him about 2.5, 3 years ago. That COVID year kind of messed everything up.
Yeah.
I guess I'll say 2 and 3 years. And we kind of hit it off right off the bat. We just, like, we knew each other for years, and we had some friends that we knew that we shared in common. And, you know, I'm kind of a goofball and he's kind of a goofball. So we would just hang out and be corny and goofy. And it was right when I was kind of getting into the vibe of Nashville.
Yeah.
And he would take me around and kind of say, hey, this is what this is, and give me the history. And, you know, so outside of being someone who's always admired his work, I'm not really down for Kid Rock's political affiliations at all. I'll go ahead and say that. But some of the music they put out for what it was really great. You know, at that time, you know, and just to kind of jam with some guy that, like, you know, he was playing at the Woodstock, the last one they had. And, you know, he's just a really kind person. I'll tell you a funny story. So the first day I go to jam with the great Kenny Olsen, you know, in the All-Stars, I'm one of the singers. So I don't actually play an instrument with him. So he and I had talked about jamming, and it was actually my birthday. So I'm in Nashville, and we're hanging out. I go to his house, and I'm kind of nervous because I'm, like, about to get my first bass jammy jam on with a legend. You know, I don't have my guitar from the Hard Rock yet. So we're sitting there, and his roommate at the time had this dog, and the dog was giving me the eye. The whole time. I was something, you know where this is going to go. So
I think so.
The dog's looking at me, and he's looking at me like, I don't like you.
Yeah.
I like you. He was even like, you ever heard dogs growl and they like say like, you better get out of my way.
Yeah.
He was like, you better get out of my, bite you on the shin.
Yeah.
So we're going downstairs. I had my bass on and getting a couple of beers out the fridge. And that little sucker, his name was Little Buddy. And he was not a friend of mine. And Little Buddy just looked at me and went, and kind of grinned and just bit the crap out of my shin.
Oh no.
Like 2 holes in my shin.
You meant like actually?
Yes.
Holy
and
shit.
He was like, his owner was like, oh, Buddy bit somebody again. And evidently he just got out of doggy prison for biting someone else.
Happened again.
You know, so the next thing he just bites me, and then he was cool. You know, I guess he
got over himself.
Point.
Yeah.
He wanted to bite the crap out of me, and he was like, I bit Chris, and
Chris tasted good, I approve.
After that.
Oh my god. It's too much work.
Yeah, he was like, woo, that was exciting. I had bitten someone who was like probably like a vampire puppy or something, but I still have some marks on my leg.
Oh my god.
It's like 2 perfect little black holes now on my leg. And I look down and I'm like, Buddy, damn you. So that was my first jam with, and then we went and had catfish.
Nice.
Nice. Good end of the day. Wow. Well, at least you won't forget it. You'll always have something to remember that day.
Yeah. You know, I'm just glad that at least he'd bitten someone previously and already had his shot. So I wasn't.
Yeah, you weren't the first one. Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I should feel special or kind of like if that's neglect. I don't know. It's kind of like,
why wasn't I the first one?
It was a trip though, because his roommate was a blind motorcycle stunt driver.
Whoa.
Interesting. That sounds very dangerous.
I'm serious. And he was a mechanic, I guess, and he worked on stuff, I guess, before he lost his sight. And yeah, so his name was Bob and Buddy.
Bob and Buddy.
Buddy.
I didn't even eat a cake that day. It was so special. Who needs cake when you got blood running down your leg, you know?
Oh my god, Jesus.
Cake's just really not that epic after that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Maybe like a little cupcake or something.
Yeah, maybe.
With 1 candle, maybe like a half a candle with a tooth in it.
Aw. It's horrible. So speaking of the album again, can you tell me where your headspace was while creating it? I know you recorded it half in the pandemic and then half out of the pandemic. So can you tell me how that worked out?
The first half of the songs were essentially planned. Like they were demos that I had laying around, and I kind of looked at the cats I had to play with, and I was like, oh, he would sound good on this one and this one.
Mm-hmm.
And the other songs, even from a lyrical point of view, they're a little bit more intense. Like Ticking Away starts out, do you seek the truth and are you going to? Change in the air, does anybody care?
Yeah.
And I wrote that kind of looking at the TV and just, getting kind of mad at, racial relations and stuff.
Yep.
And it's like that the time is ticking away. It's like, why waste your time hating someone when you could take that same time and get over what it is that's making you feel that and have the wherewithal all to get through it and work past it rather than just pass it down because my dad was that way and his dad was that way, so I've got to be that way.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
it's like time is ticking away. And so those and the other songs, I think it was, it was kismet. It was to be just the whole situation. Even this past crazy ass year had to happen.
Yeah.
Because if it wasn't supposed to happen, it wouldn't have happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I look at it. But to have one half which was planned and one half which is kind of written on the spot, I think it's a good combination of songs because I was feeling I couldn't write for the first couple of weeks after the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
When I was leaving San Francisco, I had a feeling, and I get a little foresight, and something was like, I better go stock up on some masks. So I went down to had like an Ace Hardware, and I got 3M masks before I think you can only get those now if you're a healthcare worker.
Yeah.
But at that time, I actually have a couple of them left still. I stocked up on them and even leaving when I was flying back east, people were looking at me kind of chuckling because I had this super face mask on.
Yeah.
And then there's like 10,000 seats in the airport, but the people were like, yeah, let's go sit by this guy with the mask. We know he wants company.
Exactly, yeah. Oh my God.
I love it.
Yeah.
But luckily I had the mask on, so all they heard was
yeah.
Did he just say hubba bubba? No, it was close though.
Very close.
Exactly.
So what band or artist influence do you think you can hear the most on this album?
Diversity wise, and I would not say music wise, Prince. Just I love the way he was able to. I never heard him go really like Sabbathy heavy or anything like that on a song, but I love the way that he was able to just put so many different textures, and his voice would be the element of continuity that pulled everything together.
Yes, exactly.
It's almost like a host or something, like your guide,
Yeah.
And so I would say Prince, kind of like the whole Zeppelin-y thing, and I know they're kind of like old school bands, but I haven't seen too many people nowadays. I think so many people are so afraid to be themselves because they don't want to miss a trend. But then when you're focusing on this trend, by the time you get everything together, it's already shifted into something else.
Yeah.
So if you take the time to work on who you are as an artist and what you have to say and hone your message and your sound, then you can't lose. Yeah. Because then you're on your own timeline, and a lot of people are like, well, I get compared to like some kind of old school kind of bands, but it's like any way you could spin it to get new ears on it, I don't care. But the thing is, I've always loved the artist that could just take you on a journey, take you somewhere, like have something like acoustic that you can just vibe with, because even for the next record, I'm also a big, big, big fan of electronic music.
Ooh, okay.
And I have a bunch of stuff, but I'm not as confident in it per se as I am with my rock. But it's when I let people listen to it, they're like, damn, you wrote that? I'm like, because I just love the fact that it's new sounds, tons of new sounds. With rock, it's pretty much variances of guitar tones, drum tones, vocals, and bass.
Yeah.
Keyboards. Electronica, you could do anything.
Yeah.
You know. So I've been working on just trying to push myself as an artist. I never want to rest on my laurels and be someone that's like, yeah, I found my sound. Let's do that.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a journey.
Yeah.
You know, I find myself listening to lots of different things. Like I like going to the ocean and to the bay, and just being near the water, it does something to my spirit. And sometimes I write songs that mimic the flow of the waves hitting the shore.
Okay.
That way you get out of the verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus, end. They start out heavy and then have a lull, then go back to heavy like the wave would.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, even with the next record, kind of experimenting, and it might sound weird as hell.
No, it makes sense.
But I'm going to definitely try it to make it more interesting, because everybody knows it's like right here, okay, here's the chorus they're going to start it out with, and here comes this. Okay, they've already done the chorus twice and the main verse 3 times, so that means the bridge is going to come.
Yeah.
And I think being stuck within that really limits your creativity. So by even just doing the thing of listening to the ocean waves and trying to have, like I have to go through a cycle that actually works, because if it's like the whole time, it'll just,
it's too
but
much.
like some more epic stuff, it's going to be more varied and epic, but it will still be a connector. It'll kind of segue off of this. Like the last song on the record is High Street Stomp. And that's a song that my buddy Chris McGrew, he had some friends coming over to Hyde Street on Sundays and just hanging out and jamming, getting a bite and seeing what they could come up with. Yeah. And they had this really dope track just kind of laying there, and it didn't have a lead vocal on it. And he called me up and he was like, hey man, can you come by the studio? I was like, sure. And I was actually staying a couple blocks away. And in between walking to the studio, leaving the hotel and going to the studio, I saw this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful girl. And she was laying out, sprawled out in the street, had a needle on her arm. I think she had like a boot mark on her, like someone had just walked on her. And I wondered, and it struck me as not like, oh, wow, you're pretty, what happened to you? But it was her energy. There was something about her. Because you can have a physically beautiful person that could be the ugliest joker you ever ran into in their spirit. But she had something that I could literally sense. And so I just sat and looked down, and I kind of just like, God, put some light on her or something, help her. And she was just on my mind. And when I got to the studio, my buddy was like, what's up? And I kind of told him. And that's where High Street is. There's a lot of, it's in the middle of the Tenderloin. Which they should call it the brisket, because it's not really tender.
Yeah.
But he was kind of had a similar situation, and then I just he played the song, and I literally came up with the words, what you heard, I think I did it in one take off the top of my head.
Wow.
It was literally
that's impressive.
Because that's the way music is for me. Sometimes it comes from my heart, and sometimes it comes from out there. And I feel that I'm just really lucky and honored, like a wire, that I get transmissions, because writing music has never been hard. Like bands are like, we were in there writing a record for 2 years, man. Like, what are you doing? It's like, put the bowl down. It's like, I didn't see that, because for me, it's always been easy, and life has been the tricky part. But writing music's pretty easy for me. My mom was telling me I was a baby, like a young kid, just like humming songs and making songs, and I was always in choirs and stuff, and did my first performance when I was like 4, and sang in all-state choirs and church choirs, and then kept singing my whole life, and then got into rock, and then rediscovered some of my the stuff that got me into music, and then discovered a whole bunch of new stuff, and here I am.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a really beautiful journey, you know. And if nothing else, whenever people hear the Neverlutionaries, there's bands out there that can be more technically inept and do all this stuff, and I'm about a vibe that people can grab onto, a song that makes them think, makes them move a little bit, makes them go back and say, you know what, today I'm feeling like number 2, but yesterday I was feeling number 1. And there'll be something that you can find that will kind of represent your day.
Yeah.
And that's the best thing, I think, as an artist to put out, because when you're going to get someone's attention and they're going to take, I feel like it's an honor. Like for, like some people, when they get like an interview request, they're like, oh, I don't feel like talking. I get so stoked, and I'll do 1,000 a day, because that means you all took the time to listen to something that came out of my heart. And it moved you enough to want to ask about it.
Yeah.
And that to me is some really simple yet very profound stuff, because all everyone wants in life is a voice.
Yeah.
And the ones that act the strangest in life are the ones that don't have that voice, and they have to find other ways to get attention that are negative. So I feel lucky to have had music as my best friend my whole life. Whole life. It's, you know, it's been a constant, you know.
Yeah.
I'm definitely, I feel like the luckiest guy in the world, to be quite honest with you.
Oh,
As you
that's
should.
awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. So I don't have a segue for this. I'm sorry. But if you could describe this album for new listeners in 3 words, what words would they be? It should be like super, super fast off the top of your head. I messed up the delivery for that, but it's okay.
Dynamic, varied, and real.
Oh, wow, that's really good. That was fast too.
Yeah.
Well done.
Good
Faster
words
than,
and fast.
Exactly,
Yeah.
faster than everybody. That was good.
Yeah, I have a unique mind. It fires, my synapses fire off very quickly. My poor parents. What's that? Here's a set of encyclopedias.
Oh my god.
Read through those. What about this? What about this?
Oh my god. Yeah.
I was one of those, so I'm pretty much a nerd that likes leather. So here I am.
I'm sure it paid off. So it's okay.
So, with that same train of thought, is there a certain feeling you want your listeners to have while going through the album?
Actually, no. I want to invite people to let the music dictate how they'll feel.
Oh.
I want them to feel like they're listening to something real that came from someone's heart. It's not some BS that somebody was like, ooh, I think that'll be hot right now. You know, like Skugashi 512. That's what he does. Yeah, let's paint my eyebrow blue and
Wow.
and I think I'm dope and hot. No.
Wow. Really just called out Tekashi 6ix9ine. That was good.
I didn't say that. I talked about somebody 312.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, Glory.
Spaghetti 912.
Exactly. Oh my god.
See, watch it next time. Both of you guys eat spaghetti. You're gonna be like,
You're just please
don't be pink noodles. Little tattooed noodles and stuff.
Oh.
Like the
Gross.
bowl have like gold chains and just say dumb stuff every time you like touch the bowl. It's like, I'm saying. No, I mean, you know.
It's horrible. It's horrible. So, for the last couple questions, we are actually going to shift away from music, if that's okay with you.
Go right ahead.
Sick. So we're gonna go straight to death row.
Boom.
So, if you're on death row, what would your last meal be with a drink?
Very big boom.
A Calabash seafood. Yeah. I don't know where you guys are located, but down in the south, especially Myrtle Beach, they have Calabash buffets where you pay $12 and eat all the fried food and shrimp and catfish to your heart's delight. That, a big old steak, a nice slice of foie gras, and a nice Pinot.
Solid.
Solid. So if you could live...
And then like maybe 5 more Snicker bars so I can just draw all that shit out.
Okay, yeah.
Can I get back in line?
I have a couple more things I want, actually.
So, if you could live in one fictional world for a week, where would you live?
America?
Wow. Sure. Yeah. America.
All right.
All right.
That's real, isn't it?
I think so. Sadly, yeah.
A couple years ago, you would have been like, "Well, what are you talking about, man?" Now you're like, "Good answer."
Great answer. So I have the honor of asking the last question. Every single person we've spoken to has actually said it is the most important question. What is your favorite color?
Black.
Solid. Good choice.
All
Good
right.
choice.
I've been wearing it since I was a little kid, literally.
It's a great color
Like,
choice. Goes with
I've been wearing black. I mean, God, I think he's gonna be goth. I don't know what's going to be wrong with it, but it's easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of how I feel. Like I try to stretch out, once in a while. Like there's like a certain kind of Levi's I like to wear,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the cut, but they had like a sale on these lime green ones instead of black.
Lime green.
Oof,
Don't tell me.
that's a statement.
Don't tell me. Don't tell me you got them.
Uh-oh, the glasses
No!
came off.
No!
Oh no.
I got these lime green pants.
Oh no.
And I called myself Sherbert Gumby.
No!
And I've never worn them out of the house.
Good. Oh my
I have a friend of mine,
god. Mhm.
and he's a drummer in this like kind of legendary shoegaze band in North Carolina called The Velt. And his name's Marvin Levy. Amazing. Look The Velt up if you haven't heard them.
Mhm.
But he can rock polka dots and pink stuff and weird blue stuff and colors that it's like the Garanimals truck blew up or something.
Yeah.
And he can rock it though. But when I try to like get my, I try to channel my dude, my friend, my brother, my
Mhm.
broham,
Mhm.
and I look like a clown. I pretty much look
It's the
like
best.
you could have just walked me to like a park and I could have just sold balloons all day. And kids would be like, "Oh, look, it's Humbles the clown.
Oh no.
It's Humbles."
Oh my god. It's horrible. Sorry.
It'll be great. You
Oh
make it
my
work,
god.
Jack.
Oh, I still can't
But,
get over the lime green pants. I'm just happy you
Lime
didn't wear
green.
those out of the house.
Yeah.
Because like I respect people's
They're
fashion.
actually close to me now, and I look at them and I go,
Zach, you just laugh at them. You
Like-
just can't help but laugh at them.
Like I don't try to bag on anyone
"But
for
you have
like
to do." Okay, real quick, Lori, what's your favorite color?
My favorite color is yellow.
Oh, Shane.
black. I'm also
So
currently
you're like
wearing all
Bumblebee
black.
together.
Hmm?
But y'all can call you like the bumblebees.
We've gotten that twice.
Have we?
That is awesome. Thank you guys so much for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. Y'all are really awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you both. I really do. And just taking your time, because you could have talked to someone else. And I get that. So the fact that you're here, you really made my day. I really appreciate you, seriously. And I know a lot of people say stuff to be like, at minute 5 and 25 seconds, say this proper thing.
Mhm.
I don't fake the funk. I keep it real. So I appreciate you.
We appreciate you too.
Yeah. This
Thank
is
you.
So as Gloria said, that's all the questions we have today. Is there anything you would like to plug?
Yes, go out and get the Neverlutionaries self-titled release. It is on Polychromatic Records. You can follow us on Twitter. I think it's Neverlutionary1. I think on Instagram it's the Neverlutionaries. And then on Facebook it's the Neverlutionaries. Follow us. We always put up some cool content. I'm into cooking stuff. And once in a while I might say something funny.
All right.
Solid. Mm-hmm. Once in a while.
Once in a
Very
while.
rarely though.
Very rare.
Only on days that end in Y.
Okay.
Okay.
That's great. It's perfect. It's perfect.
Well,
I
thank
got
you.
both of you like, "Way!"
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. Well,
There's
thank
no
you.
bond or twos.
Thank you for sitting down. This has been Christopher from the Neverlutionaries and We're the Good Noise podcast.